Just a bit more further info into this article. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman is set to meet with senior Trump administration officials, lawmakers, and economists in Washington. He will preview the capabilities of the company's upcoming AI models and field questions about cybersecurity and the company's stance on open weight models, according to a source. We have posted the article from CNBC on the feed for those interested.
Good morning, good morning. We are pushing into our value ceiling here on ES. NQ will look below our pivot here, watching to see if this holds or if we flip and then pop back up. Pretty dramatic push back down off of a failure to establish above Friday's value high on NQ and ES. We are now transitioning through Friday's value. NQ very clearly leading to the downside. As you can see, we opened above value, right? Pushed back through, and now have rotated through value. We're now doing the same thing again on ES, right? We're watching to see if we hold here or if we're going to rotate all the way back down like that, following NQ. So we'll see.
A reminder in 5 minutes' time, expecting the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Business Index, forecast 2, prior 0.
Expecting a bit of a bounce here on ES short term. If we can establish here, that'd be good. If not, right, we will rotate to fill gap down to 42s. So just watching these 55s right now, seeing if we're going to get a slight reaction and then go, or if we're just going to go straight down with 55s going offer and then rotating down to 42. Unsure. So far, no bid, right? So just let's keep an eye on that. See if that continues to hold true. Someone taking in size pretty clearly at 58 on ES. Like I would think that we're probably do something like this into this 58 and then head down to 42s. Some sort of like trap into that. But overall target, of course, will be down into 42. That'd be my guess. 55 offer holding. No need to look up, it looks like, so far. Two minutes left on this candle. Offer now aggressively trying at 52s for that push down to 42. They're trying to take in at 125 on NQ here. I'm trying to absorb. That was target on ES into 42s. Slight reaction so far. As soon as we tagged that, that's previous day POC. Let's see what kind of reaction we get here.
Ten seconds.
If we can flip 42s and make it offer, then we can head down to previous day value low, right? So really important to see what happens into this new 15 with news.
Still waiting on the data.
Taking in size at 100s on NQ right now. Absorbing. Closed half my ES. Seeing if we can get some
One
continuation
spot
here.
free, one spot free, lower than the forecast of 2.
Just transitioning our value back down to our battle line here, that orange line at
The S&P
429.
500 turns negative, the Nasdaq 100 falls 0.7%. The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index falls 4%.
I think they'll try to take in at this like 42, 43 on retest here, see if we can hold previous day POC as resistance, and then look for potentially one more leg down. We'll see. I'm watching to see if we get like an absorption into this and then rotate down like that. Right, something like that. Or if we are gonna hold and then come back up to this first.
The Canadian dollar touches a near 2-week low.
Watching this 90 to like 110 area on NQ. Yes, watching this 41 to like 44 area. Seeing if we continue to hold this absorption for one more leg down or if we'll flip. So far, so good. Took off my first risk here, off our secondary here, off pathing into previous day value low from our hold of previous day POC. Just a pretty reasonable target, just trading yesterday's value.
The Nasdaq and S&P 500 erased their gains. The Nasdaq down 0.5%, S&P down 0.1%.
Out my second risk here into target on ES. Into our battle line at 429 from our hold at 42s. Beautiful. Should be pretty happy with that. Good points, good points. 55s to 42s, 42s to 429. Our full value area has now been traversed from ceiling to floor. and immediate bid from our floor. Now I'm watching to see if we put in a higher low on retest of previous day value low. Potential right side of V on rotation back over previous day POC. So far, just absorbing where we did last. Got our rotation to target. Now watching to see if, right, like this holds higher low, and if we can pop above this, or if this will trap, and then rotate and pop down like this, or if this holds and rotates up. Retesting previous day value low off of a failure to establish above our 4044 zone that we've drawn on chart. Watching to see if this holds a higher low here, or if we can flip for that leg down below 429, 433. If we can do that, then we can look for continuation for that next leg following pathing. Great first risk off here if you are trading off of our pivot. See if we can hold this 29 to 33 on retest here for continuation down.
According to Tasnim, Iranian Parliament member Kazaran says Oman cannot, from a legal standpoint, open the Strait of Hormuz without coordination with Iran.
This is a great target on NQ, 958s. See if we can shift here, or if this is where they'll bid. No real absorption to play off of here until we see a little bit of a pop off of our target. See where they'll take in size. Nothing yet. This is our retest of our 29 to 33 area on ES with our bounce at our NQ target. Someone trying at 70 to 80 on NQ. Same thing at 30s on ES. Not incredibly aggressive yet, but they are taking in a bit of size so far.
So shares of ASML automatically halted from trading after dropping 8 to 8.10%.
Good hold of our 29 to 33 on ES when we called that absorption. Same thing with NQ. pushing down next leg, just took out lows. This is Russell coming into a previous pivot of ours. I'm curious to see how we react. I have to delete this pathing now that it's fully played on ES. So that I can drag this chart down. Testing our absorption leg here on ES. And on NQ, seeing if we're going to flip or if we'll hold. This is Russell into that pivot at 41s. Slight bid. Watching this 46 to 48 to let us know what we're going to do. If Russell finds resistance there, then no change, continuation down. New 15s, opening below value of both NQ and ES so far, retesting. RTY retesting 46, 48. See if it holds or if it flips. Says previous day value low, retest on ES. NQ testing 15-minute value low, as well as our rebid reversal line. Just watching to see if we offer here or not. It is really trying to flip and hold this 90 to 28K. If it fails here and we look back below 980, 990, this will be a really, really good trap. If this holds, then we'll probably rotate back up to 070 would be my guess. Just watching our value of our previous 15-minute here. We'd have to get below 29 here and offer for this to feel like a trap on ES, so this will be a higher low for rotation back up to previous day POC. This is pushing into NQ target off of our flip of our 28K to 980 we talked about. This is our push into 070 here. Same thing with ES pushing into our 4044. This is just that previous day POC that we're pushing up off of the flip recovery, with Russell holding our low and flipping over our 46. Pushing into targets now for your first risk off. If we can flip our 4044 here on ES, then we get more. If not, this is just where we absorb, just like last time. Same thing with NQ into our area of interest here. It says value high of our previous candle. Bid stepping over previous absorption. They're trying. It's a great secondary risk off. See if we can hold here for the flip. And then if we can, then we can look for a continuation. We'll see what they do here. Big level. This is NQ into our 15-minute POC to value, right, from our previous candle. Trying to flip above our pivot that we have drawn. Same thing with previous day POC on ES, trying to rotate up to 55s for that secondary leg that we just played down. On the reversal, off that failure to establish below our battle line. Russell leading the way up. As long as that's continuing, then we have potential. Let's see what they do here. If NQ can establish here at this like 60 to 80 on retest, probably rotates up to like 150, 160. We'll see. Looking into that area now, seeing if we can establish here 60 to 80. If we can, then we can look up more. If not, then we trap here off of a failure to actually get a secondary buyer at our highs. Immediate bid off 60 to 80, rotating back up to retest highs. See if we get more. Out one here at 120 from 070 for 1,000. One left on NQ.
ASML resumes trading down 7.4 to 8%.
Bit of a slowdown here. Really important that we continue to see ES show interest here at this like 40-44 for that last leg up to 55s. Watching Russell for a higher low here at this 50-55. Really want to see it try to step up with NQ defending this yellow pivot that we have. If we're going to do one more leg, we need this to not be exhaustive, but to flag, show interest outside of this balance that we created at our lows, above these previous highs, flip this absorption, right, on both. They're tempting. Still a bit of a slowdown. Retesting now. See if we can get a bid with Russell secondaries.
The S&P 500 erases decline, the Nasdaq 100 down 0.5%.
Pushing into our target here on ES off our flip and hold. Same thing with NQ. Beautiful reversal off of our take profit lows off our short. And then right side of E, now rotating back up. See what happens as we push into our value ceiling off of a hold of our value floor. Beautiful reversal with Russell finding that low. Crazy 15-minute candle. I'm going to exit half here into 54s. Now just in runners. We've now done the full traverse into target here on ES for me off the flip. And I'll look to see if we can flip out of this or if this is it for ES and NQ. Really nice reversal. Yeah, probably. It'll probably be a rotation up to 68s to 55s flip. Just keep an eye because NQ is coming up in its pivot as well to 200s. So probably a retest of our value edge would be my assumption. And then we can look for a continuation. Something like this. And then we'll watch to see if we can then flip and hold above that. Same thing here with ES. Rotation up to VWAP and our, yeah, like 66, 70 area. We can hold. Got a PVZ level below us that we can retest into. I just think this is going to be a bit of a battle. We could go for the VWAP reversions. But yeah, of course, it's an add if we can hold POC to value of our previous 15, right? It's the right side of V. So it's just understanding that we have a potential trend up now if we can hold, but we're at a major level. So we just have to look for some sort of absorption in the lows and then see if we can then bid and pop. Just like we were watching for absorption on every reoffer for when we were continuing down. Now we're doing the opposite, which is on every pullback, right? We're looking to see if they absorb, and then we're able to then put in those higher lows. If they can, then we're good. Watching our RTY, excuse me, into our PVZ value here. See if we can find a bid in a pop. That'll give us our next leg. Same thing with NQ into this 130, 100 area. If we can then pop this, then we're good. If not, hit our heads on this. Yes, and Q are holding well so far. I'd like to see a bit more from Russell, just to be a bit more convincing that we'll go for that view up leg. Pretty passive up here so far. Good bid on ES on the look above 58. Be really nice if we could hold 56, 58 on retest for that push. POC attempting to shift here on ES at this 56. Watching that retest, see if we can get that rotation to 70 here, hold POC on the daily, or if this is going to fail. Again, just a really weak Russell bid, so it's hard to get that follow through that we want, but really watching to see what happens here on retests. We want to see a pretty clear bid willing to defend with this shift of POC on our daily. We're going to get this last leg.
So according to Israel Channel 12, citing Trump, Trump says we are having deep talks with Iran. If they are not successful, we will return to powerful military action. We have posted the article from Israel's Channel 12 on the feed for those interested.
Without Russell, this is just going to be incredibly hard. Short term. Got all this trapped liquidity above now off of that failure to continue above on NQ and ES. Just looks like a pullback to me.
Furthermore, from the article, Trump made it clear that the
Russell finds a
window of
low.
time for achieving a breakthrough with Tehran is short.
See if they trap here or if we need to rotate back down to like 42s.
Trump explained that he had granted the request of the mediators who asked him to provide an opportunity for negotiations.
Retesting 55s, big level. Got to flip and hold. Basically see it like this.
Trump says, I decided to pause the strikes on Friday because the countries mediating between the US and Iran and other countries in the Middle East asked him to give him another chance to negotiate.
One minute until new 15s.
Trump says that there's nothing to gain and nothing to lose. And Trump says when explaining why he agreed to the mediator's request. And furthermore, Trump notes oil dropped and stocks rose after pausing attack.
New 15s opening now. Opening below POC of previous candle.
The Fed bids for 2-year notes total $7.6 billion. And the Fed bids for 6-month bills total $5.6 billion.
Russell downtrend continues to fail to lead to the upside. So no upside leg until that finishes. Just filling the LVN here back down to previous day POC at our 44.42 area on ES off our failure to flip 55s and open below value of our previous 15 on both ES and NQ.
The S&P 500 index turns negative.
Watching to see what we do here now that we've filled. Still not incredibly bearish on this, but it's just a pullback to fill that LVN back down to previous day POC off of this failure to continue. Once we get down here, this is a POC of our big upside candle on ES, right? As we push into our target here, see what happens from there. Right, if we fail to establish and get that continuation, it just makes sense to pull back to previous liquidity. You can see we held our POC shift as resistance on retest, right? So failed to establish above, retested, and now coming back down into target. See if we find a bid or not from there. It's a good first risk off if you're playing the flip and failure on the 15 or the pivot here at 55, 58. Great first risk off into target. We'll watch to see if a bid happens. Need Russell to stop falling as usual. No change in anything that we ever talk about. Right? This needs to then pop and go. Same thing here with the S. Get back above this, or we'll keep going down. Where we'll look for that flip reoffer rotation to previous day value. See if things can find that low or if that's all we get. Testing now. Into PVZ POC on ES. Russell still falling. NQ into our value low of that upside candle. It's got to be a pretty strong reaction here and pop back above, or I just don't see a reason why we would stop. Sell side in control. This is a really important pivot on ES to let us know which way we're going to go. I've taken off my secondary risk here off our flip. It's got to find a bid here into this 40 area or it won't look very good. Later, man.
At 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time with the US 2-year note auction. Prior high yield 4.189%. Prior bid to cover 2.64. Also expecting the US 6-month bill auction. Prior high yield 3.835%. Prior bid to cover 2.94.
Good bounce so far off of our PVZ target for the pullback, filling that LVN just like we talked about. Still no break of downtrends, but it is a really nice bid off of our lows where I said to take profit. Now we'll see if Russell continues this downtrend. No real upside move until this downtrend breaks, right? just channel down. But really nice bid here at our lows. See if we can flip back above our pivot for that continuation up. Or if this is going to be like a retest and lower high. It has to recover this POC and hold supportive if we want to see that rotation. Or this will just be another lower high continuation down. Here is every trade that I've taken today. Yes. So you can see me get stopped out. You can see me try to average down. You can see me flip. You can see it all. And that's what this looks like actually size-wise. For my YouTube enjoyers. So first trade of the day is here when I got on to here, right? So it's just seeing this leg down and then this absorption that happens and then rotation through and then playing it as a secondary here after we closed our primary position off this absorption that we spotted, right? So I'll just mark that. Then this was where we started to see absorption again. So then I started to play this secondary leg down, added, took off some, saw that they held it, right? Played it down again. Tried to add some into these lows, just a couple contracts, singles. Stopped out once we saw it flip our add, and then immediately went long off the flip. So then just playing this up to our previous target, as you can see, right, where we shorted originally. And then when we flip that, right, that then becomes where I'm looking to then, oops, add for continuation back to where we shorted originally. And then I tried to add here on the hold and this continuation, but it fails, right, to establish above. So then we flip, right, on this pivot hold, because this doesn't hold on retest. We see a lower high.
So reminder in 5 minutes time,
off of this
expecting the US
absorption.
2-year note auction. Prior high yield 4.189%. Prior bid to cover 2.64. Also expecting the US 6-month auction, prior high yield 3.835%, prior bid to cover 2.94.
So why am I uncomfortable with this guy above, and why do I exit here once I see this lower high after we failed to establish back up there from this bounce? Well, because we just showed that the offer is willing to defend a lower high with these guys off sides, right? So now it's like the first signs of, a downtrend being put in. Because now this guy's off sides above our balance between these two pivots. And now it's like, okay, well, now this is a potential lower high and offer below our edge. So to me, I would rather take a break even here between my my ads and my average from down here. So I took a break even as much as possible on this retest, right, as close as possible. And then we look to flip on the pushback below, and that's just a rotation back down to where we originally longed, right, into these lows. And that was our target as well. And then it's just a matter of sizing correctly on our averages so that they don't ruin us, right? So that then looks like this. So we're not scaling insane with our averages. Some losses, right? But still up. Nothing crazy. Just micros. Here, this is what that looks like with these averages. You can see what I mean. Right, like pretty small losses comparatively. We're doing like single ads. Do you see that? How I'm adding to the position, scaling? Whereas when I'm buying the dips, it's in lots of fives. And then when I'm adding, I'm doing it in lots of ones. So my losses are much smaller because all of these are single ads that add up to 5 contracts. Whereas my dip buys at a comfortable level are 5, right? So I've got like 10 contracts or 15 contracts in total. I exit out in 5 lots, and then I'll add back in, scale in lots of 1. So my losses are, 17, 40, 30, 30, very small. This right here is when I added with a 5 lot. You can see that adds up very quickly to a larger loss. So I want to be very careful with my ads where I'm adding and making sure that doesn't cost me money. So I was willing to add with 5s here because I knew that this would be a break-even trade between these and these. So that's just zeroing out. And then immediately
1 minute
flipping
remaining
short
for the
to
2-year
cover
when
it.
issued yield and the 6-month bid auction.
And you see it's 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and then push down. So it's just like averaging and managing positions, understanding your rotation when you're wrong, right? That's really it. It's like, why do I think I might be wrong here? Well, this is where we were absorbing last. I wanted to see the offer be able to step down, hold our previous lows. So when we fail to continue to establish here for that low where the bid was last, it's like, oh, okay, well, we might be flipping here for rotations up to at least this pivot. So do I want to stay in this position wrong if I've scaled in lower here
10 seconds.
all the way back up to here? Probably not, right? Because that's just a waste. So as long as I'm willing to exit, I now then know that where we could potentially go, right? And then it's like, okay, well, then I'm going to flip here because now I know that this is where absorption was last.
2-year when
And then
issued
we're
yield
rotating back up.
4.32%, 4.32% before the $69 billion auction.
It's just pivot to pivot. Failed to establish above. Russell lost momentum. Market's GG as soon as that happens. We tried to shift POC. It failed, right? Now POC shifting again here into previous day POC, our Fridays. So we are sharing the same value as last Friday right now. See if we get continuation or not, but I don't know. New 15s have opened. We're still just waiting on Russell to get its shit together. If it doesn't want to, then there's no reason to be looking for longs, in my opinion. We're just holding resistance, right? Downtrend, channeling down like we talked about ever since the new period has opened. We've been holding our anchored VWAP as resistance, right? So very clearly a different participant in control since this new period is opened. You can see that's second reversal, and we've reversed down ever since that period is opened into EU close. So this is just selling into EU close. And now we'll see if we are able to then do something new now that EU close has happened, or if, right, this is just going to be a reoffer of our anchored VWAP and then continuation down to our reversion zone down here. I don't have an answer for you. All I know is where I'm wrong, right? And I've closed. And so now I've got to wait. We are just rotating through our value structure off of our AMT indicator. As
4
you can
spot
see,
315%, 4 spot 315%, bid to cover 2 spot 66, 2 spot 66, with the US sending 69 billion.
this is NQ holding our POC, coming back down to our value low. As ES just
Awarding
rotates our value.
69.04% of bids at high. Direct 34.05%, indirect 56.59%, and primary dealers take 9.36%. 6 month 3.945%, 3.945%, bid to cover 3.12, 3.12. The US awarding 36.13% of bids at high. The 2-year US Treasury yield extends decline after the $69 billion auction, last down 1.51 basis points at 4.316%. So we saw a stop through in the 2-year note auction of 0.5 basis points.
I'm going to watch to see if we hold these lows again. Just fully retracing that upside candle. Russell still downtrending, no shift yet. But watching previous day value low here on ES as we come down. Yeah, nothing for me yet. Just keeping an eye on it. I'd personally like to see some sort of retest into 35-40 area for ES, a bit better. first before I go for a downside leg continuation. This could come down to 23s here just immediately. I won't play it if it does that. I'll have to wait to see if we then hold our value low as resistance before I play the next leg down. Or we come up first into this liquidity and then can go down from there. But I won't take a short here regardless. I would like to see some sort of retest into this upper structure where we just failed to show an active participant, right? So I'd either like to see a nice little reoffer or a push down and then hold. Russell still just downtrending, right? There's no upside yet that we can point to. Just like we talked about, very hard to be bullish on the market with RTY just selling and channeling down. Good bounce so far on our value low. Again, I didn't play it because there wasn't an entry for me. We'll watch our reoffer. Holding our pivot so far. Really nice bid off our pivot. Size being taken in into 28s so far. This is our retest of our battle line and previous day value low here into 28 to 33. We want to see if we can hold this or if we're going to go up to my target first. So again, this is just our battle line here off of our bounce at our value low on the daily. We're watching to see if this is going to hold as resistance or if we're going to come back up to where absorption was last. Big bounce across the board. You can see on our profile shape, right? We've got this big node up here, and then we've got a smaller node here. So we're watching to see if this will hold, and this will offer, and then rotate below like this, or if it needs to come up here first, and then we decide what we want to do. So far holding pretty well off of that battle line at 29s. Need to get below our value low for continuation. at 23s. Retesting our absorption now. Offer trying to put in a lower high from that absorption. See if they can hold it. So we try to come back in to 26, 28. Remember, we got to get below 23 if this is going to continue. Or it is just a range between our, 29 and 23 until one of these decides what they want to do. Retesting our absorption here. Very similar on NQ, as you can see. We've got two nodes. This upper structure and this lower, right? So can we hold, rotate below, or does this need to come up here first? Pretty important level on NQ here as well. We'll try to bid this 20. We want to see if they're going to fail or if we can rotate back up off of it. Same thing with NQ, or with the S here, trying to retest our original absorption into 28. Holding our nodes so far. They'll try to reoffer.
Nvidia shares extend drop to as much as 5%.
You're watching to see if that bid can hold here. Right, it's just a battle for these wicks right now. Which side are we going to be able to hold off on? $20s on NQ holding, 28s on ES holding. Retesting highs where we met our seller last. It's a good initial bid, but we need follow through if we're going to go up to that 40 area that we're targeting. Or these guys will just get exhausted and be trapped above. As you can see on our footprint candle as well on ES, very clear. These guys are the participants that we're playing around right now. As this new 15 opens, right, holding value of our previous candle so far, as well as previous day value. This very clearly needs to breach and hold this, which is our pivot here. Or it will come back down below, right, and then rotate. We're just playing around to this liquidity.
The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index down 4.7%. So seeing US listed chip stocks fall, Nvidia down 4.9%, Intel down 3.5%.
First we'll look below 28. See if they continue to bid this, or if we can start to see a bit more excitement from sellers now that we've exhausted up into these highs potentially. Watching for Russell follow through as well. And Q retesting our 020 from the other side. Same thing with ES. Gotta break below these 23s on ES for follow through. We'll see Russell also show interest downside if we're gonna do it. Offer an NQ trying to sit 25.45. They're trying to take in size there. Still needs to break 28K, but they are trying to put in that lower high.
According to INA, Pakistan's interior minister visited Doha on an unannounced trip and met with Qatari counterpart to discuss security matters.
No ability to push below our 28K on NQ or our 23 on ES. Just another rotation with that. Just very, very passive so far. Coming back up to our resistance here. See if we can do it on this test, or if it's just going to continue to rotate until something changes. Coming into 12 o'clock, right? Lunchtime. Very different market with that. You see that NQ POC is trying to shift down here into our like 020, 030 area. Lower high holding so far on NQ. Same thing with ES. RTY flat. I'm just trying to like move these over because I don't think our pathing is wrong. I just think this is going to take a minute, but I want to make sure you can see it. So again, like it's just consolidation in this node here and this node here. And we're holding value of our previous candles, right? So until those can flip offer, we just are rotating between this buyer, right, on these deltas here, and this buyer here, right? So this is just where our previous buyer was, that got absorbed, and now it's just our seller, right? So we're putting in a lower high off of that. Same thing here on ES. But we still need to breach these lows for anything meaningful to happen, or it's just rotation while we wait, and then someone's going to get trapped, right? So that's the most important thing is, can we hold like these highs on ES and NQ? If we can, then there's potential for downside, but we still need to sweep these lows. But if this is able to stabilize, right, holding these lows, and then we're able to then bid, I would expect one more leg up off of a failure to trap here. And then it's just coming back up to this seller first before we can figure out what we want to do. And the reason why I'm not like incredibly like bullish or bearish here is that Russell's flat, right? We don't have a directional bid here. We have a downtrend and we have a consolidation. So it's just like, okay, well, if there was exhaustive buyers at the lows, if there are exhaustive sellers at highs, and they can't do anything with this consolidation, we can't breach either pivot, then we're probably going to go for liquidity first before we actually get our next leg. So it's probably just a chop and then look for previous liquidity, try to get someone trapped off sides, and then look for Russell to then have a continuation leg, and then that'll lead to our next like directional trade. Right, which is what we've pointed out here, which is like, it's like, okay, well, either we're gonna hold the lower node or we're gonna come up into the higher node here first, and then like this is just retesting our main seller that pushed us down, right? And then we failed to establish a lower high. That's all that is. But at the same time, we failed to establish a higher low, right? So it's just, we know that there is a buyer here, and we know that there's a seller here, right? So that's what I'm highlighting, and we just failed to sustain the lower high. So now we come back up to retest the main seller because these guys failed to sustain the lower high. And then it's like, do we trap here above them and then rotate back through, now having fresh liquidity to punish, or is something more dramatic going to shift where we like flip our sell level above? Right, like that's what happens when we consolidate. There's only so much liquidity in an area. But because Russell's not moving, I don't really give a shit about this area. It's just like, okay, well, we'll come back up to our previous seller, and then either they'll like slam it down or they'll step out of the way, and then the bid will start to, you know, we'll get a nice secondary bid that we can play off of for another like VWAP reversion or some garbage. I don't know. But until then, it's just consolidation inside value of our previous 15-minute candle with Russell flat. full rotation here on ES off our flip and hold following pathing. Same thing with NQ from 42s. Now into our full target. Russell flat. No change. Just like we talked about. To me, this move means literally nothing. It's just like without RTY, this is just us coming up to retest our previous sellers off of a failure to shift value lower, right? So now we have to come back up, see if we're still maintaining the same auction or if, you know, some sort of shift is going to occur here. We'll see. This is the area that I care about on ES though, where I wanted to see us come up and retest. This is that that 38.44 area where we saw some like major absorption last attempt. So if we can flip it and hold it, sweet. If not, then this is where I'd expect us to kind of like exhaust, top out, and then see some sort of larger push down. I mean, RTY flat just tells you that we're not getting expansion. We're just rotating up to previous value, right? Like that's the whole thing that I was just telling you about, is that we're just trapped in balance and you had a mid, right? But this is like the known range. So as soon as we don't show interest at our mid, then we're going to rotate back up to our previous high. And this move isn't like expansive. It's just a rotation of value. So this is the box that ES is trading in. This is the box that Russell's trading in, right? And like this is the box that NQ is trading in. So these boxes are much larger, but they're the same, right? It's still just a consolidation. But just because they're different instruments, they have different volatility, different metrics, right? So these areas in between were just chopped because they were LVNs, right? Low volume nodes. So we were transitioning to our HVNs, our high volume nodes, and nothing else mattered in between because that's not where the volume was. So as Russell just consolidates, we will consolidate, we will rotate to previous value off of a failure to shift on these other names, which makes sense. Like it's just, it is what it is. It's a range. So now that we're here, we can see sell side trying again, and we will see if they can hold this or if we're going to do something new. I'm not bullish whatsoever on ES until we could flip this guy and hold. This to me was just where we were headed for sellers to re-engage. Got to see us pretty clearly flip over that previous day POC and current PVZ POC. Which, I mean, it's still possible, but I got to see it first.
Fars News, citing Syrian sources, says the Israeli army is advancing into Syrian territory from the western outskirts of Daraa.
No change from what we talked about. 44, 38 still holding as resistance. Russell holding our pivot, no change. Nothing to do. Just our same seller stepping in again, watching to see if our bid is here on ES. Kind of important to let us know. This is where that buyer was last. It's going to be important to see. We all have all this trapped liquidity now into these highs where we thought it would be, right? Now watching to see if this buyer here from our first node where we were looking for rejections, if we were going to get that continuation down, right, is now going to be supportive. We hit our head on that node above us, right? Now watching to see that we've done this full rotation, is there a buyer that's willing to defend, right, the higher low shift and push us back up and then get us over this? Or are these guys now just uber offsides, right? And are we then able to now punish and continue downwards now that we've done the rotation back up like we thought we would, right? That's the question. So we're now watching this pivot to see what happens. Is this an immediate continuation down for us to then reoffer and then actually take out this 23 that we want? Or do we need to bid here, come back up, retest our 40 first, and then head down? We would need to take out these highs from here if we were going to go up for me. Or again, this is just the trap that we were expecting, right? With this liquidity now offsides. And we will watch to see if we can get this leg below where we want to see that attention. But it is just a midday rotation, in my opinion. you can see like all that effort that was exerted for this rotation up from our value low, and then they immediately just stepped out of the way as soon as we got back up to our sellers, right? Like just absolutely immediately into our 44s, and now it's just down, right? So it's like, do you want to play the step up when there's just like the elevator down at our target, and then we're just watching to see what happens as we rotate back through our range? Like I just, it's not worth your time, man. Like we know Russell's flat, we know everything's flat, we know where we're headed. Just wait for us to either flip above that pivot, right, outside of this range. Like we know all we're doing is coming back up to our previous seller. We failed at our lows, right? So now it's just a battle between these lows and these highs because we're failing at that mid auction. So we know where we're going to rotate. We know that the auction is taking place like this. We know that the Russell isn't leading, which has led every leg so far. So why are you expecting something new to happen when the catalyst that's caused every reaction so far isn't moving, right? Just expect value rotations while we wait for the catalyst to start up again, right? Like it just is what it is. You have to have patience, but you also have to have, right, like common sense. Like why would you expect something new to happen if the thing that's been driving the market isn't driving the market right now, right? Just think of it as value until we prove otherwise. When the market fully starts moving again, right, then we can get our next trade. Until then, sit on hands or trade the value rotation. Good to see you, Gav. It's crazy how much we slow down after 11:30. Like we all know it's going to happen, but it's just every time it's just so surprising how like drastic of a change it is. Yo, what's up, Ty? DJing a wedding. Hell yeah. How'd you get that gig? Nice.
Trump says Iran wants to meet and we're meeting. So Trump says there's a chance we can make a deal with Iran. So that's Trump here saying there is a chance we can make a deal with Iran, seeing a bit of strength in the S&P 500 and some weakness in oil. So Trump saying we're meeting with Iran, good things could happen. Iran requested a meeting through surrogates.
Huge news.
Further weakness in WTI crude here is again, Trump says that Iran has requested a meeting through surrogates and there's a chance we can make a deal with Iran.
Wow. I'm sure that'll come to fruition.
It's unsure where these comments from Trump are coming from. It seems he's speaking to reporters here. He's asked about patience with Iran. Says we've got plenty of time.
Hell yeah. Random Trump comments.
So Trump currently speaking in an Air Force One gaggle. So again, he's aboard Air Force One speaking to reporters at the moment. Says we're having good talks with Iran.
This is just
That's
a
Trump
VWAP
saying we're having
version.
good talks. We'll see what happens.
No change for me personally.
Good chance that something could happen with Iran in the talks.
We'll watch to see if buyer sits here. It's the only way that this actually continues. This is still a lower high from our trap that we found.
S&P 500 now turns positive on Trump comments on Iran.
It's still the same seller from before on ES with a lower high into VWAP. So no actual shift has occurred.
Trump says, I haven't talked to Saudi Arabia about the Accords.
Let's see what happens in the pullback.
The Air Force One gaggles on the feed for those interested.
Just a full rotation of our value on ES from our ceiling to our floor. On hold, this is our look below and fail on NQ into our 180, 210.
Trump says, I'd like to have more ammunition, to be honest.
So just into our pivots that we already know about. That's why I said I don't really care about this. If we can flip, awesome. Then we show that this move has some legs on it if we see secondary participants and not just a squeeze. If not, then we'll retrace this entire thing and this won't matter whatsoever.
Trump says a lot of Patriot missiles are being built.
Good bid so far on ES off of 40, 44, 46 on the flip of our previous day POC. See if we get some continuation. You see them trying to hold the value of this candle, right? Bidding here. Same thing on NQ, but I want to see follow through across the board here. Flag it out. If we can see flags form, you know, on Russell, ES, NQ, all at the same
Wall Street
time,
Journal reports that Ford Motor joins the race to build the next US Army truck.
that would be great.
Trump says I have a little difference on Iran with Israel's PM Netanyahu.
Just a little.
Keep in mind they are scheduled to be meeting tomorrow. That's Trump and Netanyahu.
I can't believe, excuse me, that he can still move the market on that stupid news, man. Blows my mind.
Trump says I'm going to ask Putin if he's sending Iran satellite images. So that's Trump saying, I'll ask Putin about the speculation of Russia aiding Iran. Trump does say, though, that I don't think Russia has been sending Iran images. Trump adds that if Russia has given Iran images of us, it hasn't worked.
It blows my mind that semis bounce on news that doesn't affect them. Yeah, well, the problem is that they're in the major indexes. So when the indexes bounce like this, they kind of have to bid most of the time, right? It's just like a balancing issue because they're weighted inside. So it has to stay connected, right, to the index. But yeah, I mean, it is annoying.
Trump says money from Venezuela can go to the military.
I mean, yes, looks
Trump says I will
decent.
use Iran's money to pay for the damage they did.
Surely. Surely he'll use their money. That's worked on every other attempt. He said that.
Nvidia to invest $5 billion in Ilya Sutskever's AI startup. Trump on the Fed says read a very good inflation report the other day and says costs are going down rapidly.
Okay.
Trump says as soon as the war is over, you'll see a big drop in prices. Trump, when asked about Fed and the rates, says Warsh is great, but he has a board. Says Warsh has to deal with the board, and rates should be lowered. Trump says Warsh will do the right thing. I know what he wants. Warsh wants to do the right thing.
The right thing, my thing. True. It would be funnier if it wasn't reality, you know?
Trump says Israel would not survive without us.
So far, so I'm not really talking a lot because there's no point, but
We've posted the FT article about Nvidia's $5 billion investment in the AI startup on the feed for those interested.
there's very clear absorption into these highs so far that we need to breach through on both ES and NQ. We're watching to see if Russell can get this continuation above PVZ.
Trump on Israel's PM Netanyahu and Turkey's F-35s says Turkey's been a great ally.
We're just keeping an eye on this. Again, it's very clear that we've trapped people into these highs. We can see that POC is attempting to shift here on NQ from our 020 to this 160. Watching to see what we do. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we just want to see if Russell's going to be able to hold this reversion back up to VWAP or if this is going to fail here. Not enough size for me yet. We're trapping into these lows decently well on ES. Not mad at our flip of our 44, 46 area. This looks okay so far. We just need to step it up a bit because it's just a balance between these two boxes at our 56 where that POC shifted down, right? So we're just holding this 39 where POC is currently and our 56 where POC was previously. I'd like to see a bit more from the market. Again, all we've done so far is trap highs and sell side is now trying to shift down. You can see that a bit more on NQ than you can on ES, which makes sense because Russell is still decently bullish here, whereas NQ is leading down after the POC rejection on the shift. Yeah, I mean, I get you, man. But you have to remember, it's not the
AP
voice
News
spot
reports
guy
that
that you have to be
mediators see
mad at.
progress in efforts to halt the Iran war as drone attacks rattle the region.
He just
Again, this
repeats
is
what
AP News citing mediators.
he just repeats what these guys say, right? These guys just lie, and he has to repeat it.
So US oil prices extending their drop here. We have posted that article by AP News on the feed for those interested. Trump on China's theft of AI IPs says we're now leading China in AI. And on China and AI says they're looking at us and we look at them. And Trump has now ended his remarks to reporters aboard Air Force One.
Wow, this is just a truly interactive market that we're experiencing right now. Just Into our pivots here on both
Fed bids
ES
for
and
5-year notes
NQ.
totaling $7.7 billion.
Watching to see if PVZ holds on our retests.
And the Fed bids
if
for
we
3-month bills
reject
total
these,
$6.5 billion.
do we put in this lower high here off of hitting our heads on this node and then rotate back down to our 020 area? Or can we actually bid and flip out of here? I don't know. It's way too slow for me to give a shit. Not gonna lie. Americans spend more on sports bets than movies, arts, museums, and music combined, per Fortune. We're cooked. Later, Benjamin.
In 10 minutes' time now, at the top of the hour, the US is due to sell $70 billion in 5-year notes. The prior high yield is 4.2%, and the prior bid to cover was 2.35. The US is also due to sell $92 billion in 3-month bills, with a prior high yield of 3.73 and a prior bid to cover of 3. So Treasuries edged higher ahead of the $70 billion 5-year note sale today, which is the second of today's 2 coupon auctions, following the $69 billion 2-year note sale, which drew strong demand. The auctions are the 2 biggest of the US government's 7 conventional fixed-rate debt sales each month, and they are occurring earlier in the week due to Wednesday's Fed rate decision.
Following our pathing on NQ, coming back down. Russell helping that reaction. Watching to see if we get the full leg here. This is ES into previous day value low. Again, we trapped that liquidity above, and we're now rotating with a failure to sustain. Coming down into our low target here on ES. This is just that POC to value edge here. Market's been absolutely dead since like 11:45, 11:30. Just a full rotation of that news candle up that Trump pumped. Like I said, there's no follow through, so nothing like actually changed. It's just garbage. Now we have fully retraced it on NQ and ES. Now we can figure out what we want to do now that this has been fully retraced, right? Are we going to sustain value? Are these guys who are offsides above that we identified going to help lead us down? Can we make a new leg down, right? That's the question now. Or is something going to shift, right? I would assume that we have that with that offside liquidity that we will take out lows. Don't know if it's going to happen immediately though. With the speed that we have, there's no way to tell. Right now, all we're doing is coming back down into these lows where that news candle popped us, right? But we know all of this liquidity above is offsides. There's our... Is anyone speaking? I mean, not right now I am. I really wish I could play music on the stream to cut some of the silence, but YouTube is the worst.
So in just less than 5 minutes time now, at the top of the hour, the US is due to sell $70 billion in 5-year notes. The prior high yield was 4.2%, and the prior bid to cover was 2.35. The US is also due to sell $92 billion
There's your
in
full
3-month
target.
bills, with a prior high yield of 3.73% and a prior bid to cover of 3.0.
That is NQ into your POC shift off the failure here. Rotation down into our lows. This is ES into our value low as well, where we bounced last. So that's full rotations based off pathing. We'll watch to see what they do into these lows now. We know that there's someone taking in size into this like 70 to 85 area. So we can watch that on NQ. And this like 32, 36 on ES. Just keep an eye on those as pivots from our low holds. And 3 minutes left on these candles. I probably won't play this unless I see someone like actively get taken in as we pop back up into these pivots above us. If it's really passive, I just can't justify it. But we'll see. If we can grab into like this and then rotate below.
So shortly expecting the
Probably
results from
worth.
both the US 5-year note auction and the 3-month bill auction. The 5-year when issued yield comes at the top of the hour.
Right, some sort of trap into this. But if this is just passive, I have to wait to see if sell side will sweep below and hold below our pivots here. If we don't get this some sort of like trap up above, I just can't justify how slow it is.
10 seconds. When issued 5-year yield 4.399% ahead of the auction.
POC is shifting here on ES.
So we're now shortly
Down to
expecting the
R28.
results from the auctions. I'll lead with the 5-year high yield.
News coming out here soon. I wish I would have saw something better. I mean, like, it's gonna play. It looks like it's gonna play, but I'm not in it. Too liquid, man. Sucks.
Five-year high yield of 4.408%, 4.408%, with a bid cover of 2.28, 2.28. So the US, they sold $70 billion in 5-year notes, tailed 0.9 basis points, and they awarded 51.71% of bids at high. Primary dealers took 13.53%, direct 27.22%, and indirect 59.24%. So we also had the 3-month auction with a high rate of 3.815% and a bid cover of 3.06. For the 3 months, we saw the US sell $92 billion and they awarded 83.44% of bids at high.
If we can get some sort of re-offer, I'll potentially play, but fuck me. I hate slow markets, man. It's so annoying. We want this liquidity to remain offsides. Bit of a take here on ES into 20. Hoping that gives us a bit of a pop into maybe like 24s. And we'll see. They're taking here. They're trying to absorb at least. If 20s fail and then we sweep below 18s, then maybe we don't get that look above. But it's two-sided here so far. Just keeping an eye on it. I can't tell which way it's going to breach. I'm hoping that we look up first so that we can get a nice little absorption for a lower high and then a sweep through. But market hasn't been exactly wanting to follow through on my ideas here of where I want us to go short term. Our targets are good, everything's good, but I'm just not getting the look aboves. We're just getting the downside. And without that, it's pretty hard for me to want to initiate. And what I mean by that is I want to play around like someone who's clearly trapped visually, rather than just kind of like buyers stepping out of the way and sell side just pushing us down. Because when we're this slow and sell side is just pushing us down, that could change instantly with a fucking Trump tweet, right? Like I want to see someone punished in offsides that is clearly trying but failing to sustain, that dude's offsides at a lower high, and then like the offer very clearly like defending and then pushing us down. That to me is much more meaningful than just this kind of like slow grind garbage that we're getting right now. So let's see what happens in these reoffers. If we can actually do something that is meaningful here. That's what I would like to see. So we pop back into this if they're willing to take, and then, you know, like kind of push us down like our pathing suggests. That to me would be a much more meaningful drop. Pretty important retest here into our 020 area on NQ. With ES pushing into our 23-24 area where our POC shifted. So just watching this. Or sorry, where our value low is, sorry. Again, like the idea here is that we want these buyers to kind of remain offside still. And we're just coming up to retest this value shift and to then rotate down. If it's gonna play, right? We're gonna defend these edges off of some sort of failure on a look in and then rotate back through it. And that'll hopefully give us something. It's got to be pretty clear. Because again, if it's just like sell side stepping out of the way, it's not incredibly playable. Just like when buy side steps out of the way. All right, well, I don't really want them to just step out of the way. I want them to try, fail, and then I want to see like follow through. That to me is actionable because then I know where to put my stop. I know where to put my entry, right? I know where we're going. Without it, it's just like, okay, we're just gonna randomly walk. They're really trying to take it into 020s. It's just not actionable enough for me yet. If they can't pop that wick high at 29.75, then this might be good. But it's still very coin flippy. Yeah, just not enough yet. Okay. Let's see what they can do with this. It's got to sweep and hold 28K, or this is absolutely meaningless. It's so slow, man. Oh my God. 50 seconds until hopefully the move occurs into the new 15. No interest below our pivots, just rotating back up to where our last seller was because of the failure at our low. They need to slam this from here if it's going to go down into the open new 15s, or I give up on this area. Just watching our 15-minute structure here. See what they do. A lot of buyers into these lows. A lot of sell side stuffed at those lows on ES into 420. New 15s opening now.
Stocks of crude oil in the US SPR fell by about 3.7 million barrels to 307.7 million barrels last week, the lowest since 1983.
Later, surf. I was hoping to get like one last trade out of here, but if they're not going to give it to me, they're not going to give it to me. It's just like I'm only seeing like one side. So to me, it's not worth. Until I see some sort of buyer trapped, I can't play it. Look at this seller trying here on NQ. So aggressive. That might have been enough on ES at 25s and NQ into that 35. Let's retest our, we're retesting our lows here now. Let's see what we can do. That was our 15-minute retest that we needed. I just need to see follow through now. Get below that value of our previous candle. Show us that it actually has some legs to it. Again, like this is what I'm referring to. This value low here at 28K and here, right? We need this flip off of this trap here. This is what we have drawn. I need this flip. And then on the short term, that'll look like this as a reoffer. But the 15-minute structure is the only thing that I care about. Testing our lows now. Let's see if we can get this offer. I need to see acceleration here below our 28K. Same thing below this 18 to 20 on ES. If it's going to happen, I want it to be relatively soon, relatively quick here. If sell side gets exhausted into 18, then like what's the point? They swept 20s, pushed us down. We need to see them now follow through here. The bid step out of the way is fine at this point. If sell side can actually shift this pivot, they got to do it. I wish I could move these all at once. It's so annoying. Retesting our sweeper here on ES into 20. Like they gotta be here, guys. Like if they're not, what's the point? There's no follow through. I'm just gonna come right back up to our 26 offer.
Nvidia extending drop to session low of 5.5%.
All right. I mean, I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna leave. I think it's not worth being here. Nothing's getting followed through. I don't think we're wrong. I just think it's gonna take an hour to play, which is just not worth your time when you can make so much more money just trading in the morning and then come back in 2 hours. You know, like I just don't. I'm not staying here for the full session, so I'm not gonna be here for another 30 minutes waiting for this move to occur. Into 2:30 to 2:30. $10 to 11:30 still the best by far to trade. Everything else is garbage. There's very clearly someone taking in into 26. It's just there's no follow through on any move, so you have to just stay in a position for an hour, hoping that that continues to play. I don't know. Until this 50-minute structure invalidates for me, this is my bias. If we can start to build above, then sure, you can go into a different way. But to me, this just makes the most sense. If this shifts and we can, you know, continue to trap into these lows instead, and then we see buyers like actually care on a pop above, then sure, you're right, like go up. But until then, trapping into here makes the most sense to me. And then you're just waiting for actual follow through. Until then, right, it's just a range trade, sadly. We need the follow through with our lows. But the problem is like even when the sweepers come, then there's no follow through after that. So like you have to already be in the position, because if not, then your risk is the entire balance above, looking for like the high to hold, then hold. So it's one of those things where you either just wait for speed to step back in, right, and you don't trade this because you're not seeing what you need to actually qualify for the trade, or you trade structurally, right, and then you have a wider stop and you're just trading the understanding that this is consolidation in a downtrend and nothing has changed, and that on the higher time frame we're very clearly still trapping, but we're not getting the follow through we want intra-candle. So it's like, okay, either you just chill in a position, net neutral or slightly offsides while we wait with a wider stop, or you're waiting for trend to start again after the initial sweep, and then we see follow through on the secondary, which just hasn't happened yet. Every initial sweep down has just resulted in stagnation. So it's just telling you like it's not a trending market, which is like, yeah, no shit. We're consolidating at midday. So it's one of those things where if you're trying to scalp a market like this, you're going to get chopped up over and over and over again because we're not getting follow through. And that's what you need when you're trying to scalp, unless you're just trading your balance edges, which I know most of you refuse to do. You'd rather just take the opposite trade at every edge, looking for a break, right? But like this is very clearly the range that we're trading in right now. And until we see the follow through on either side, right, it's going to be just garbage. And so you're just rotating between these participants. And so you can be like in a position already, right? We're seeing the lower highs over and over again, but it's not a fast paced move, right? You're getting a down leg, chop, 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 down leg, chop, 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 chop. And then maybe we get another down leg, and then we get chop, 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 chop. Like that's not smooth, but it is a channel down. You get me? And then every time like this is rotating up and down, you're taking a stop, and then all of a sudden you've given up all of your gains from this morning for no reason during like shit trading. New 15s opening here soon, holding our pivot, no change. NQ holding POC, ES holding POC as resistance. Still just trapping into highs as of right now. Watching to see how we open on new 15s. Opening below POC on both ES and NQ. No, there's just no interest. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna head out. If this ends up playing, sweet. If not, it'll be okay. If there's no follow through, there's no follow through. I can't be bothered to just chill here while we wait. This is just us battling over our floor, right? Nothing about this to me screams bullish yet. We've done the full value rotation through from our value high down to our value low. To me, it just looks like we're going to hit our head on POCs and then rotate down as soon as Russell's ready. But the longer that we sit into this like really tight accumulation here, the more we're going to have to liquidate right outside of this range, which is what we're doing right now. I don't know. I mean, I need someone to get trapped. If someone can get trapped, then there's a play. If no one gets trapped on the side that I want, then there's just nothing for me. I'm not longing this low, but I'm unwilling to short until we see someone like really clearly off sides and then a lower high. It's just not worth it to me. It's too slow to short without that. You don't want to be shorting a slow market, even if it's in the trend direction, because someone can start to pop up and then you just get ran the fuck over. And I don't have the patience to wait for it right now, especially with how quickly we were getting those reoffers earlier today, comparatively. I just know what my time's worth and it's not worth this. So just watch to see if we get back above, and we're going to do a rotation again before this happens. But personally, I don't like where NQ currently is trading. I'd rather like have it at like the value low, right, first, or a bit higher where we can trap easily and then look down. But with it just sitting at POC, like that's a no trade for me. I trade edges. I don't trade where most volume on the day is traded. Right? That's not edge. So you have to wait for some sort of edge or some sort of liquidity test where we trap, and then you can play a secondary off of POC, but I'm not trying to play a primary, right? Something like this maybe. Great. But you are watching to see if like this fails and then this rotates, something like that could be good. Like we know the overall trend, that's the thing. And that's why I'm waiting so patiently, is that, well, this song is so bad, Jesus Christ. Is because we're below value of our previous day on both NQ and ES, right? NQ showing it much better, much more clear, with us just like very clearly building below. ES barely building below, right? But still, it is operational, right? It is still trying. And we know that if into end of day we can sustain this low, that downside feels pretty likely. It's much more probable if we can hold value of our previous day, Fridays, right? So that's kind of the idea of the downside, but I need to see someone get trapped for that to play, and then we need to see a secondary seller step in here below value, or it's just going to be a rotation between the two. If we fail to sustain this value low, where are we going to head? Well, we're going to rotate back up to our ceiling again, right? That's the thing. So if they can't sustain this, we just rotate back up to 55s. That's the whole idea here. And that's what we've done over and over again today. So it's just been a failure to sustain below, and then a rotation back through. And then secondary targets would just then be us into our Friday value high, right? But just look for traps here into like 29 to 34. And then you look for secondary sellers from this trap to then really start to initiate below 420 and hold. If you can see someone get trapped into these highs, which is, again, Friday value high, then you can then look for that secondary play below once we've actually shown interest below our edge, right, below our value low on the day. You want NQ to not just be rotating POC during that. We want some sort of excess to be created, and then we can then look to then play that down, and then you'll have a nice read. Until then, it's going to feel like absolute crap, and that just is what it is. But like directionally, it looks good from my perspective for continuation on the medium time frame, but short term, just like ass. because it's just still within our value structure and trading POC, right? That's, again, you want edge trades or some sort of like liquidation event where, right, we've trapped some sort of liquidity and then we see really nice follow through with speed below. ES is playing, right? We're ranging between our two pivots like we thought. But again, you need follow through full market. But this is kind of what I'd be anticipating. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah. I'm gonna put this in chat actually. Style. I think this will probably be the plan. Minus 1.1% looks like enough for the day. And potentially, I just think that with us holding where we are value-wise, that there's a lot of potential for continuation down. That's all. Like again, like if you don't understand what I'm saying, this is, let me see if I can put this full screen without, no, I really can't. That sucks. This is what I'm saying, is that we have this multi-day balance that we're trading in, where we've tried to establish higher lows and higher highs, and we're now trading below those higher lows after taking out the high. So now I'm just worried that we potentially, right, so this is what I'm talking about, right? We were in this channel, and now we have a potential sustain below, right? We have this build below this channel that we were trading up. So we had this value structure here. These were our lows where we were bidding constantly, right? Every reaction from these areas led to a pretty impulsive buy that then led up. Impulsive low led to like a push up, right? Lows led to a push up, lows led to a push up. So now that we're showing interest below this area, I need to see, right, this is that pivot that I was just talking about, which is, are we going to get another look below, impulsive push up, and then rotation, just like we have been over and over and over again, right? This is how we've been establishing this range. Do you see what I'm saying? Or is this our first real look below and sustain below? Right? So that's what I'm watching for. Is this the sell that's going to lead to the downside like this? Do you see how that makes more sense in context of the last 3 sessions? Of why I would be expecting more downside if this holds pivot-wise? So that's the reason why. Is like we have a very clear pivot here where like from the last 3 sessions, we've been either trading in a very clear range between this 55 and this 25 on ES, or this will be our shift, and then it'll be our rotation down into like this 95 area. Yeah, so that's the only reason. But like we have to see it to believe it, right? We have to see what's going to happen, because this could easily be another trap, right? Where these lows hold, we fail, right? And then you look for the higher low back above 35, it looks like, right? Like this then becomes your higher low, and then you just rotate back up to 55 from 35. So that to me is like kind of the play, is that you have these 2 auctions that have kind of taken place with these highs here, right? This high, and then we had this look above failure and then rotation through. So I just like to separate it into like very clear distributions like this, because that makes it my life easier. So I don't overtrade or like overcommit to a side. And it's like, okay, well, as long as we're trading in this lower distribution, I know my edges and I know where I want to be looking for participants to be trading around. And it's like, if we're above, then I know that I can then look to trade, you know, this upper balance. And then I have this lower balance. So then I have 2 areas with a very clear pivot. And that's what that ceiling's kind of representing, right? That's the top of our value. And it's also just like our VWAP resistance on the day. So if we can start to like sustain below Friday's value and this holds, then it makes sense for then us to push down into these lows, in my opinion. But right, we need to see follow through. If there's no follow through, then right, it's just going to take in size here again. Then you get that pop back over 30, 35, and then that rotates up to 50. So that's why I just like, do I want to stay in this? Do I need to be here for this short to play? I'd rather just like chill, get either stopped out or go for the continuation while I go live my life and not have to be here. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, you're totally right. It could be the end of the rotation on the day. But with how, oops, I didn't mean to do that. With how potentially trapped, oh shit. These guys are above this high and how we've moved and held this lower high here on the day, to me that it has a higher probability of potentially playing out if we can just sustain this. All we need to do is sustain. But again, like you're totally right. It definitely could. And if we get that jump, you'll get this rotation, and then we'll then be able to play this as a range trade with these guys trapped below, and that could be juicy. So just gotta wait to see how acceptance plays out here. And ideally, you'll know as soon as Russell finds its leg, because right now Russell is just sideways, right? If this can start to break down these lows, then ES will definitely start to move down. Anything else I need to say before? No. Yeah, it's just a box. But I like the setup on ES for a potential continuation down with, like I said, with where we're trading. If that can just get below these lows, man, and sustain. If not, right, like we know where we're going. We'll come back up to these highs to rotate the box. But I'm gonna head out. I don't need to be here for this chop. We know where we're gonna go if it's gonna play. I'm just gonna set an alert and then we'll go from there. Set an alert at the low for me, just to come look at chart while I'm walking my doggo. And I'll set an alert above here and below here. So if they break the range, then maybe I'll look at the chart and see if there's something else. But if not, right, we're just going to head back up to here. And then that'll be where I'll look for a trade again at this edge high. If we can get this continuation down, then I make money. If not, then I'll wait for us to come back up. I'll get stopped out here. And then I will look to play again if we rotate this edge high. Right, just it is what it is. Do we continue to hold value low? Or are we going to rotate back up to this? And if we can breach these lows with a sweep, then I'd be looking for down here. All right, I'm out. I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.